This is Brandon Despia. Thank you so much for watching the channel and having a conversation with me about Branded. In today's video, we're going to be discussing the new Yu-Gi-Oh! Genesys format. Everyone's excited to try out new builds, and with the new point system, it offers a new way for you to express your skill and deck building ability. For Branded Despia players, however, it does offer a little bit of a challenge. Using Dueling Book here, you can see that it's impossible to run all of these classic branded cards in the same deck. We only have 100 points and we're already at 314. Branded Fusion's at 33, Branded Loss is at 66, Mirror Jade and Lubellion the Searing Dragon are at 33. Not to mention, all the Bestials are very expensive as well. And you know you have to run Cartesia and Quem, right? How are you going to pull this off? Well, in today's video, I'm going to show you a deck list that will make the most of our limitations, with some added spice as well. And if you stay to the very end, I'll show you a very fun way to use Branded as a sub-engine that will allow you to use Branded Fusion, Mirror Jade, and Lubellion all together. If you like the content, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And with that out of the way, let's get right into the video. The first deck I wanted to show you was a 42-card branded deck list. Most of the cards make sense for most branded players, but there are a few things I wanted to try. I'll explain them right now. I am running 3 copies of Allure of Darkness to help us draw into our engine and non-engine. And to make up for that, we're running 2 copies of Tri-Brigade Mercurier and 1 copy of the Tragedy. We also are running 2 copies of Branded Regained. Since we don't have Lubellion or Branded Lost, we need to find a way to make up somewhat for the grind game that we lost. No pun intended. I decided to regain that with Branded Regained. Okay, that pun was intended, and I apologize. Branded Regained will allow you to take a banished light or dark monster, put it back into the deck or extra deck, and draw a card. And we'll be able to use this many times between our opponent's turn and our turn. We are also running Chaos Nephthys as an extra disruption by using the copies of Grand Guignol the Dusk Dragon, by banishing a light or dark monster if cards on our field get destroyed, through something like Dark Hole, for example. Or even through our own effects. We can special summon this card and banish 2 cards in the graveyard and 1 card on the field. I think that's a pretty fun and interesting way to deal with multiple threats, and you are going to be certain to see people use copies of Dark Hole and Dark Ruler No More to deal with your board. Outside of that, Branded Banishment will essentially equal a copy of Mirror Jade and will occasionally allow you to fusion summon using your opponent's monsters, which then you could use Branded Regain to take advantage of. 2 copies of Quem and 2 copies of Cartesia. Since it's more important than ever, we are able to recycle copies of the 1 Mirror Jade. For the extra deck, we do have the 2 Albion, the Borlo Furious Dragon, Despia Coritis, and Philia Regis, 2 copies of Grand Guignol, Chaos Star Source, Mirror Jade, Mysterion, Rinbrum, Titaniclad, Secretarion, and Despia and Lulu Lilith. I left the last card slot as a flex, so you can put whatever you can there. For the side deck, I mostly wanted to put some cards that you should be interested in, especially if you wanted to save some of your points. Having a Kaiju type monster will be very important in this format. There will be some towers that will be difficult to deal with otherwise, so have a copy of Radiant in your deck too. You can go into your sideboard, deal with the towers, and if you don't need it anymore, use a card like Allure of Darkness to draw 2 cards with it. Dark Ruler No More is a very powerful and inexpensive board breaker that you should definitely be running, along with Ultimate Slayer. And to go with Ultimate Slayer, I'm running 1 copy of Cloud Beast Malong and Myriologic Aggregator. For the last card here I would suggest you try is Dragon's Mind. It's very easy for you to have cards that have 2500 attack or defense on your field. Definitely take use of that. And now, allow me to show you a deck that can use Branded as a sub-engine, and in fact can use Branded Fusion, Lubellion the Searing Dragon, and Mirror Jade while still being able to run a very solid and strong deck. Allow me to present Artmage Branded. This uses Branded as a sub-engine and has only 2 copies of Fallen Albaz, 1 Branded Fusion with the Mirror Jade and Lubellion. That's 99 points for 3 cards, but we're still able to run a full sideboard and a full deck. The Artmage deck is relatively new, and it's kind of gone under the radar due to other better options to run with Branded. However, in this format, we're able to use Branded Fusion to send Medius to the graveyard through Lubellion the Searing Dragon. And then we can go into our Mirror Jade and have a Medius in the graveyard to special summon. That's the main reason you would run Branded in this deck in the first place. It's basically another way to get into the Artmage engine. And because we have cards like Artmage Acropolis, we can use the extra normal summon for Medius, which allows us to normal summon a Luber. Or run a special sub-engine of cards that I'm also packing in here. And I think this particular piece of the engine is something you should look out for, and maybe even use for yourself. As you can see here, I have 1 copy of Spellbook Magician of Prophecy, and along with that I'm running 2 copies of Spellbook of Secrets, and even the Spellbook of Knowledge, which draws you 2 cards. So I have essentially a pot of greed with extra steps. And it doesn't affect my plays because I have ways to special summon or use an extra normal summon to get my Medius out. And since they're also spells, if I don't need them, I can use Acropolis and discard them for its effect. So it works out pretty decently well. I have 1 copy of Branded in High Spirits just in case we need to use it to go into our Spriggan's Kit instead, perhaps sending Medius to peer to the graveyard and send one of our Artmage Deactauruses. This is why I'm running 3 in the extra deck. For this reason, if you want to, you can actually up the Branded in High Spirits if you're going to run 3, and we'll still have the 2 available for Fusion. I'm also running 2 copies of Nerva, but you don't really have to run 2. In fact, 2 Deactaurus and 1 Nerva is what you will normally see, and there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, if you have other cards you want to try in your extra deck, that's what I would suggest. And for the rest of the Branded engine, we are running Branded in Red, Branded in White, Branded Opening. The sideboard has other options you might want to consider as well. I did put some of the same cards because I really like Dragon's Mind. In fact, you should be running Dragon's Mind in the Artmage deck because Deactauruss has 2500 defense. Branded in White gives us just 1 extra way of fusing in Engine. As long as we use a Dragon-type monster, we can fuse into quite a few things. Whether it's Lubellion again, we can also fuse into Mysterion, or Secretarion Dragon in most normal situations by using the Laterra, or even the Spellbook Magician of Prophecy. Most Artmage decks, to be honest with you, are running Xyz monsters along with their normal package because they can. You should be able to special summon Medius from the graveyard and normal summon another level 4 like an Aluber or even another Medius and make this. But anyway, those are my 2 ideas for deck lists. Let me know what you think. I definitely will like to see more of you guys discuss in the comments below using the Spellbook engine. Let me know what your thoughts below, but I thought it was something that you should know about and something I wasn't really seeing people discuss in the format. So let me know your thoughts, take care of yourself, and have a great day.